I saw her near the principal's office yesterday evening.
That is a lie. Kelechi, confess before you make this worse. I saw her with the examination designs that had disappeared from the principal's office 2 days earlier.
8 years after Kelechi Okafor was expelled for stealing architectural designs, she stood before hundreds of people in Enugu with the same designs displayed on a giant screen behind her. Government officials sat in the front row. Television cameras pointed at the stage. Architects had traveled from Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt to witness the opening of the most advanced public technology center in southeastern Nigeria. But in the third row sat Chidi and Zainab, the two people who had destroyed Kelechi's life. They looked older and frightened. Their family's real estate company was close to bankruptcy. They had come hoping to beg for a subcontract that could save them. Neither of them knew that Kelechi had discovered one final secret, a secret buried inside the foundation of Chidi's family empire. As Kelechi placed both hands on the podium, she said,
Today, before this building is officially opened, the people of Enugu deserve to know who truly stole those designs.
The entire compound became silent. Uncle Luce lowered his head. Elder Nwafor shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Kelechi looked directly at Chidi. Chidi's face changed. Zainab grabbed his hand. Then the giant screen went black. 8 years earlier, Kelechi had been an 18-year-old scholarship student at Royal Heritage Technical College in Enugu. She was not wealthy, popular, nor influential. Her school shoes were carefully repaired, and most of her clothes had belonged to her late mother. But whenever Kelechi held a pencil, she became fearless. She could look at an empty piece of land and see a community. She could see houses that remained cool without expensive air conditioners, roofs that collected rainwater, and waiting areas that remained cool without air conditioning. Her most valuable possession was a thick brown sketchbook. Every page contained drawings she had developed since she was 12. Enyinna often found her sitting beneath a mango tree behind their classroom. "You have not eaten since morning," Enyinna said. "I will eat later. You said that yesterday." Kelechi continued drawing. Enyinna pulled the sketchbook towards herself. "What is this one?" "A rural clinic. It looks too beautiful for a village clinic. That is the problem," Kelechi replied. "People think poor communities deserve ugly buildings. This clinic will use blocks made from compressed earth. The roof will collect rainwater, and the waiting area will remain cool without air conditioning." Enyinna studied the drawing. "How much will it cost?" "Less than half of what government contractors normally collect." Enyinna laughed. "Then they will never approve it. Where would they hide their own money?" Kelechi tried not to smile. Across the compound, Chidi watched them. He was the son of Chief Anayo, owner of Anayo Crown Estates, one of the biggest property companies in Enugu. Chidi arrived at school in a different expensive vehicle every week. His father donated computers, repaired classrooms, and paid for school events. He believed that made the school his family's private property. Unfortunately for him, no amount of money could make him more talented than Kelechi. She had defeated him in 3 state design competitions. During the most recent event in Aba, Kelechi's affordable housing model won first place, while Chidi's luxury estate design came fourth. After the results were announced, Chidi cornered her beside the exhibition hall. "You enjoy embarrassing me," he said. Kelechi closed her sketchbook. "I did not judge the competition. My father sponsored half of that event. Then perhaps he should ask the judges why his money did not improve your design." Kelechi stepped closer. "Be careful, Kelechi." "Is that a warning?" "It is advice. People like you should understand when they have been allowed to enter certain rooms. Winning small competitions does not make you important." Enyinna appeared behind Kelechi. "And having a rich father does not make you talented." Chidi walked away, but Kelechi noticed something in his expression. He was not simply angry. He looked afraid. 2 weeks later, Royal Heritage announced that Kelechi had won the Green Cities International Fellowship. The program would send her to Germany for 6 months and pay for her university education. When the principal announced her name, the hall erupted in applause. Except for 2 people, Chidi stared at the floor. Beside him, Zainab's eyes filled with tears. Zainab had wanted that fellowship more than anything. Her parents had already told relatives she would win. She had even purchased new clothes for the journey. After the assembly, Kelechi found Zainab near the staircase. "Congratulations," she said. "Thank you. You must be very proud. I am grateful." Zainab looked at Kelechi's repaired shoes. "People are saying the judges chose you because you are an orphan." Kelechi's smile disappeared. "Who said that?" "Everybody knows these international organizations like sad stories. A poor girl with dead parents is more interesting than someone who actually deserves the opportunity." Kelechi took a slow breath. "The judges did not examine my parents, Zainab. They examined my designs." As Kelechi walked away, Zainab whispered, "You will not enjoy that fellowship." That evening, Zainab called Titi to an empty classroom. Titi entered nervously. "Why did you ask me to come here?" Zainab locked the door. "You owe me 80,000 naira. I told you my mother is sick. I will pay you." "When?" "Give me another month." "I have already given you 3. Titi clasped her hands. "Please, Zainab." Zainab put a sealed brown envelope on the desk. "I can forget the debt." Titi stared at it. "What do you want?" "Put this inside Kelechi's locker tomorrow morning." Titi stepped back. "What is inside?" "Nothing that concerns you." "I cannot do that." Zainab brought out her phone. "Should I send your voice messages to the principal? You used part of our class project money to buy your mother's medicine. That is theft." "I was going to replace it." "Will the school believe you?" Titi's hands began to tremble. "Please do not do this." Zainab pushed the envelope towards her, then put it in the locker. Unknown to Titi, Chidi stood outside the classroom, listening. The next morning was the Regional Future Cities exhibition. Architects, government representatives, and property developers crowded the school hall. Elder Nwafor, chairman of the school board, welcomed a delegation from Abuja. Kelechi's sustainable village model stood at the center of the exhibition. Shortly before her presentation, Principal Adanya entered with 2 security officers. "Kelechi Okafor, open your locker." Everyone turned. Kelechi looked confused. "Why?" "Open it." The students followed them into the corridor. Kelechi opened the metal door. Her school bag and drawing instruments were inside. One of the officers searched the locker and removed a sealed envelope. Kelechi frowned. "That does not belong to me." The officer opened it. Inside were confidential architectural blueprints belonging to the state government's proposed transport terminal. There were also examination designs that had disappeared from the principal's office 2 days earlier. Elder Nwafor stared at Kelechi. "How did these enter your locker?" "I don't know, sir." Chidi stepped forward. "I saw her near the principal's office yesterday evening." Kelechi turned sharply. "That is a lie." Zainab shook her head in disappointment. "Kelechi, confess before you make this worse." "I have nothing to confess." Principal Adanya picked up Kelechi's sketchbook. Several pages had been torn out. "What happened here?" Kelechi froze. The pages containing her finest designs were missing. "Someone has touched my book." "Do not create another accusation to escape the first," the elder said. "They stole pages from my sketchbook." "Enough," the principal shouted. Kelechi looked around for Titi. Titi stood at the back of the crowd, crying silently. Their eyes met for 1 second. Then Titi looked away. That was when Kelechi understood that someone had framed her, but she did not know why. The school board met that afternoon. Kelechi stood alone before them. "I did not steal those plans," she insisted. Elder Nwafor removed his glasses. "The documents were found in your locker. Someone placed them there. Who? I don't know." "Then you have no defense." Kelechi looked towards Uncle Uche, who sat behind the board members. "Uncle, please, tell them. You know me." Uche stood slowly. "I have raised you since your parents died," he said. "I paid for food, clothes, and transportation. Is this how you repay me?" "I did not do it." "You have brought disgrace to our family." "Uncle Uche, please." Her voice broke, but Uche refused to look at her. The board expelled Kelechi, revoked her scholarship, and cancelled the international fellowship. That evening, rain fell heavily over Enugu. When Kelechi returned home, her bag was outside the gate. Uncle Uche stood beneath the veranda. "You cannot enter this house." "Where will I go?" "You should have considered that before stealing." Kelechi opened her ruined sketchbook. "These drawings are mine. Someone tore out my best pages. Stop lying. I am telling the truth. Leave before the neighbors see you." Kelechi stood in the rain with nowhere to go. Then someone ran towards her carrying an umbrella. It was Enyinna. "What are you doing here?" Kelechi asked. "I heard what happened." Everybody heard. "I don't believe it." Those 4 words broke something inside Kelechi.
She began to cry. Enyinna held her tightly. "We're leaving Enugu tonight," Enyinna said. "Where are we going?" "Port Harcourt." "With what money?" "I have enough for 2 bus tickets." "And after that?" Enyinna looked down the dark road. "After that, we survive." They arrived in Port Harcourt the next afternoon with 1 ton bag, Kelechi's damaged sketchbook, and less than 3,000 naira. Enyinna's distant cousin, Ada, managed a small logistics park near Trans Amadi. She allowed them to sleep in a cramped room behind her office. "1 week," Ada warned them. "That is all I can offer." "Thank you," Enyinna said. Ada faced Kelechi. "I heard you are an architect." "Wanted to become one." "Wanted?" "My scholarship was cancelled." Ada shook her head. "Enugu eats dreams for breakfast. If you sit here moaning, the city will swallow you. Whatever happened in Enugu, leave it there and find work." The next morning, Kelechi searched factories, schools, warehouses, and construction sites. Nobody hired her. Some said she was too young, others wanted certificates she did not have. At one construction site, a supervisor looked through her sketchbook and laughed. "You drew these?" "Yes, sir." "Then go and sell drawings. We need laborers." By evening, Kelechi could barely feel her feet. As she passed a crowded industrial canteen, she saw a notice on the wall. "Kitchen assistant needed." Mama Bisi stood behind the counter, shouting orders. "2 rice, 1 beans. Kenny, carry your food and leave my counter." Kelechi approached her. "Good evening, ma. I saw the notice." Mama Bisi looked over her. "Have you worked in a kitchen before?" "No, ma." "Can you scrub pots?" "Yes." "How do you know?" "Because I am willing to learn." Mama Bisi pointed towards a mountain of blackened pots. "Start with those." "Now? Did you want to come tomorrow?" Kelechi dropped her bag and started walking. For 6 weeks, she arrived before sunrise and left after the final customer. She washed pots, swept floors, and served dock workers. Every night, she studied structural engineering under a rechargeable lamp. One evening, Mama Bisi found her reading beside the storeroom. "What is that?" "Structural load analysis." "You are studying engineering while washing my pots?" "Yes." "Why?" Kelechi looked at her rough hands. "Because soap can remove grease from my fingers, it cannot remove what I have learned from my mind." Mama Bisi studied her for a moment. "Do not allow that lamp to finish my battery." The following afternoon, Chief Daike entered the canteen with engineer Hamza and Kenny, a junior project coordinator. Chief Daike owned Daike Holdings, a respected development company with projects across Nigeria. They were discussing a massive waterfront complex. Hamza spread several calculation charts across the table. "The revised design is ready," he said. "Construction of the pillars begins on Monday." Kenny checked his phone. "The Abuja investors want photographs by Friday." A folder slipped from the table, documents scattered across the greasy floor. Kelechi hurried to collect them. Then she stopped. Her eyes moved across one calculation sheet. Chief Daike noticed. "Is there a problem?" Kelechi hesitated. "Sir, may I ask who prepared this?" Kenny snatched the document from her. "Just clean the floor." Kelechi refused to release it. "This pillar is wrong." Hamza looked up. "Excuse me?"
The load distribution is incorrect. The calculation treats the waterfront soil like compacted inland ground. Hamza stood. Give me that paper. If you use this measurement, the eastern pillar will carry almost twice its safe load after the upper floors are completed. Kenny laughed. She washes plates and now she is correcting engineers? Kelechi placed the paper on the table. Sir, the saltwater content will weaken the soil. If the foundation settles unevenly, cracks will appear here, here, and here. She pointed at the design. Chief Daike's expression became serious. What happens after the cracks? The eastern side could collapse. The canteen became quiet. Hamza examined the figures. This cannot be correct. Our consultants checked everything. Then ask them why they used the wrong soil density report. This data is from the Aba Industrial Project, not the Port Harcourt waterfront. Hamza's face changed. He quickly turned through the pages. Chief Daike leaned forward. How much would correcting this cost? Now, perhaps 80 million naira. After construction begins, several 100 million naira. If the building is completed before the error is discovered, people could die. Chief Daike closed the folder. Kenny, stop Monday's construction. Sir, stop it immediately. He faced Kelechi. What is your name? Kainene Kelechi Okafo. Why did you study engineering? I did not. Kenny scoffed. I knew it. Kelechi met Chief Daike's eyes. I was expelled from technical school. For poor performance. For something I did not do. Chief Daike pointed to the empty chair. Sit down. I am walking. Mama Bisi spoke from behind the counter. Sit, my daughter. I will manage the customers. Chief Daike listened as Kelechi told him everything. When she finished, he asked to see her sketchbook. He turned the damaged pages carefully. Who taught you to design like this? My father was a bricklayer. When I was small, I watched him build houses designed by people who never visited the communities. The rooms were too hot, the roofs leaked, and families paid money they did not have to repair mistakes. I began drawing better ones. Engineer Hamza returned with his laptop. She is right, he said quietly. The wrong soil report was attached to the calculations. Kenny stopped smiling. Chief Daike looked at Kelechi. You may have just saved this company hundreds of million naira and perhaps many lives. I only pointed out what was on the page. No, Hamza said. Many people saw that page. You understood it. The next morning, Kelechi entered Daike Holdings wearing the only clean blouse she owned. Chief Daike offered her a junior site coordinator, safe accommodation for her and Enyinna, and admission into evening civil engineering classes. This is not charity, he warned. You will walk. That is what I want. You will make mistakes. I will correct them. People with degrees will resent you. I have survived worse than resentment. Chief Daike smiled. You start today. Kelechi's first months were difficult. Kenny believed she did not belong in the company.
During meetings, he interrupted her and questioned every suggestion. One afternoon, he placed an incomplete project report on her desk. Chief Daike wants this tomorrow morning. There are missing figures. Then find them. Kelechi walked through the night. At 7 the next morning, she placed the completed report before Chief Daike. He read it quietly. Who gave you this assignment? Kenny. Did he provide the survey data? No, sir. Why did you not report him? Because the work still needed to be completed. Chief Daike called Kenny into the office. Kenny expected Kelechi to accuse him. Instead, she said, he understands supplier negotiations better than I do. I understand the structural data. If we work together, the next report will be stronger. That moment changed Kenny. After the meeting, he found her outside. Why did you defend me? I did not defend what you did. I protected the project. I wanted you to fail. I know. Kenny lowered his head. I am sorry. Then help me make sure we never submit an incomplete report again. Over the next 6 years, Kelechi rose from junior coordinator to project manager, regional director, and finally chief director of operations. She completed major projects in Port Harcourt, Aba, and Abuja. She also continued developing the affordable rural clinics from her old sketchbook. Meanwhile, in Enugu, Titi's guilt was destroying her. 4 years after Kelechi's expulsion, she entered Principal Adana's office and collapsed into a chair. "I put the documents in Kelechi's locker," she confessed. Elder Nwafo was called immediately. Titi told them that Zainab had blackmailed her and that Chidi had supplied the stolen documents. The school launched an investigation. Kelechi's record was cleared and a public apology was issued. But the investigation uncovered something strange. The confidential blueprints found in Kelechi's locker had not originally belonged to the government. Several design features matched pages torn from Kelechi's childhood sketchbook. The trail led to Anayo Crown Estates. Chidi's father had obtained copies of Kelechi's drawings through his son. The company had modified them, registered them under its own name, and used them to secure government contracts. The frame-up had served two purposes. It removed Kelechi from the fellowship and made everyone believe she had stolen designs that had actually been stolen from her. Chief Dike placed the investigation report before Kelechi. "You can take them to court." Kelechi stared at the copies of her childhood drawings. "They built their company with my ideas." "Part of it, yes." "Did Chidi know?" "The evidence suggests he did." Kelechi closed the file. "I will not respond yet." "Why?" "Because I want to build something they cannot deny first." 4 years later, the Enugu state government selected Daike Holdings to design a multi-billion naira public technology hub. Kelechi was appointed lead architect. When she returned to Enugu, Uncle Uche appeared at her hotel. "My daughter," he said, opening his arms. Kelechi did not move. "I am not your daughter, Uncle Uche. I raised you, and you abandoned me in the rain." Uche's smile disappeared. "I made a mistake. You made a decision. I was ashamed. So was I. The difference is that I was innocent." He lowered his voice. "People are saying you control the contracts. I supervise them. They are capable people in our family." Kelechi understood immediately. "You did not come to apologize. You came for a contract. We are family. Family should not become important only when money appears." She opened the door. "I forgive you, Uncle Uche, but forgiveness does not restore the access you threw away." On the morning of the opening of the technology hub, Chidi and Zainab came to the ceremony. Their company was drowning in debt. Chidi approached Kelechi behind the stage. "We need 5 minutes. You have 2. Zainab handed her a proposal. "Anayo Crown Estates can handle the landscaping and staff residencies." Kelechi did not touch it. "Your company is not financially stable." "We can recover," Chidi said. "This contract would help. You framed me for theft, stole my designs, and built projects with them. Now you want me to rescue your company?" Zainab's voice trembled. "We were young. So was I." Chidi glanced around nervously. "My father made those decisions. Your father did not put the documents in my locker." Chidi fell silent. At the podium, Kelechi finally addressed the crowd. The screen behind her displayed her childhood sketches beside completed Anayo Crown Estates projects. People gasped. These drawings were created by an 18-year-old girl. They were stolen, altered, and registered by people who later accused that same girl of stealing them. Chidi stood upright. Police officers moved towards him, but Kelechi raised her hand. "I did not bring everyone here to watch an arrest." The officers stopped. "Evidence has been submitted to the proper authorities. The law will decide what happens next." She looked at Chidi and Zainab. "I forgive you, but forgiveness is not the removal of consequences. It simply means I will not carry hatred while justice does its work." Zainab began to cry. Kelechi continued. "You tried to bury my name beneath a lie. Instead, you forced me to build a stronger foundation. You removed me from a classroom, but you could not remove learning from my mind. You took pages from my sketchbook, but you could not take the hand that drew them. The audience rose in applause. Months later, the court ordered Anayo Crown Estate to compensate Kelechi and return ownership of the stolen designs. Titi accepted responsibility for her part and became an advocate against student blackmail. Kelechi used the compensation to establish Kelechi Green Foundations, an independent architectural firm. Its first project was not a luxury estate. It was a free, sustainable clinic in an underserved community outside Aba. Standing before the completed clinic, Enyinna nudged her. "Do you remember that night in Enugu?" "I remember. We had one bag and almost no money. And you said we would survive." "I was only trying to sound brave." Kelechi laughed. "It worked." Chief Daike joined them. "What will you build next?" Kelechi opened a new sketchbook. "Affordable homes, schools, more clinics." "You never stopped drawing." "No. Because when everything else was taken from me, drawing reminded me that an empty space was not the end of something." She looked at the clinic where mothers waited peacefully with their children. It was the beginning of what could be built there. Kelechi had finally learned that people could damage a reputation, steal an opportunity, and even close a door, but they could not permanently defeat someone who refused to stop learning and building. A lie had chased her out of Enugu with nothing. Truth brought her back with something greater than revenge. It brought her purpose. And the people who once called her a thief were forced to live inside a city shaped by the mind they had tried to destroy. Moral lesson: never use wealth, influence, or jealousy to destroy another person's future. What people bury with wickedness may grow stronger underground. Forgiveness can free the heart, but it does not cancel accountability. Above all, talent needs opportunity, yet determination can sometimes create a new door when every old one has been closed.
Thank you for watching African Night Tales by Enyinna. If you enjoyed Kelechi's story, please subscribe, like, share, and join us for more powerful African stories.